maintain the decorum, all right?
Ameya sir, can you better you mute yours, all except speakers?
Sorry, sir. Hello.
Can you mute others?
I have muted, sir. I have muted.
Except the speakers.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so around more than 200 people have joined. Many have joined on the YouTube as well.
Okay.
Dear host, who are the co-host speakers and all the coordinators, please unmute yourself when it is required to speak. Currently, I am muting all the participants, all right? Currently, I am muting all the participants. My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Dear YouTube audience, are we visible to you on the YouTube? If yes, kindly let us know in the chat box on the YouTube so we can start the program. YouTube audience, if we are visible to you on the YouTube, kindly please let us know. All right. A very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, national level webinar on NEP 2020 impact on higher education. This is Ameya Agrawal. I'm the founder of SkillSlate, and I'm really happy that we were able to work and collaborate with Nishitha Degree College, Nizamabad, Telangana, which is a NAC accredited A grade college, and we have been working with Manoj sir since past 2 years. Manoj sir has been very closely associated with SkillSlate, and when this opportunity came to organize this kind of particular workshop, it was really a moment of joy for us because many people from Telangana and Nizamabad do attend our programs, and this was a great opportunity to reach everyone. And when I read about our speaker, Dr. Patrick, I was very happy to see that we were able to have such good people with such good credentials and experiences in particular field. Because no matter how old NEP got, because I think many have organized programs on NEP, but no matter how many programs are there, there is always so much to learn about NEP 2020, and there are various perspectives. And I myself been closely related to higher education. I was really happy that this perspective of higher education was considered particularly in the NEP 2020 because the foundation courses and the higher education are these are some of the very important aspects because when the foundation is poor, the higher education gets affected, and when the higher education gets affected, the current state of our country or the current state of the economy gets affected. So this is a really wonderful topic, and I'm really glad that all the participants, around 200 participants from across India, have joined this program and shown it such a good response, because today is a Saturday afternoon and either it is a time to relax or sleep or get into the work at various parts of the country, but you guys have showed up in such a good number. So thank you so much for being here today on this program. I will just like to thank the principal of Nishitha College, Dr. C. Rajendra Sagar, for the continuous support. Manoj Kumar sir, who is the convener of this program and IQAC coordinator. And myself, I am Ameya Agrawal. I am the founder of SkillSlate and Zovy Studios. Zovy is a corporate supply company where we deal in merchandising, gifting, and branding solutions, and organize these kind of programs where we provide these kind of technical supports and the other kind of elements for the online examination or online promotion of these conferences as well. And SkillSlate is a non-profit organization which works to bridge the skill gap and make education, skills, and knowledge accessible to all. So we have been working with various universities like Central University of Haryana, MIT University, DY Patil University, then SRM University from that side from Tamil Nadu, RR Institute. So these are some of the colleges, Vellore Institute as well. So these are some of the colleges we have been working with, and I have an MOU. And what we do is we try to bring in such expert people like Dr. Patrick, or people with vision like our Manoj sir, or our principal Dr. Rajendra Sagar, and we try to collaborate with them and bring such programs for all the students, the faculty members across the country, and bridge that gap. Because with the online education, the one good thing that happened was now you can learn from the best of the best. So that's why I think I'm really glad that Dr. Patrick is here today with us. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. And I'm really happy that we are doing this. So without taking up much time, I declare that this session is now has begun, and I will hand over to Manoj Kumar, sir, to take it forward. And if anyone have any doubts, please you can ask in the chat box, and I'm sure that you all will enjoy today's session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Ameya sir from SkillSlate Foundation. First of all, I thank today's keynote speaker, Dr. Patrick sir, plus Dr. Ameya Agrawal sir, for coordinating with us for conducting this particular webinar on National Education Policy 2020 impact on higher education. So first of all, I request Jhansi Madam to give the welcome and start the session.
Good afternoon, all of you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's national level webinar on NEP, National Educational Policy 2020. I am P. Jhansi Lakshmi, Assistant Professor in Department of English. Our college is the leading provider of initiating to conduct series of webinars. I welcome all of you and from the SkillSlate Foundation, Pune, research persons and participants with prayer song. So prayers.
Yeah.
Share the audio as well. The audio is not visible. Audible.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
On the madam, continue.
Yeah, I welcome to the webinar on behalf of SkillSlate in association with Nishitha Degree College, affiliated to Telangana University, accredited with A grade by NAC, organizes national level webinar on NEP 2020, impact on higher education. Now, I would like to welcome respected Dr. O.M. Sheikh Sir, Director, Nishitha Educational Academy, and respected Principal Sir, Dr. Sri Rajendra Sagar Sir. The convener, IQAC coordinator, Mr. Manoj Kumar Gelda Sir, Associate Professor in Commerce and Business Management, and organizer, Mr. Ameya Agrawal, founder, SkillSlate Foundation, and my dear staff members and all other delegates from different states and my dear students. Today, now I'm going to welcome today's resource person, Dr. A. Patrick Sir, for the national webinar. Coming to Dr. Patrick Sir, he has done his MCOM, MBA, PhD, and Sir has qualified NET in Commerce and Business Management. Sir is working as Associate Professor in Senior Grade in the Department of Commerce, Osmania University, College of Commerce and Business Management. He has more than 22 years of teaching experience at postgraduate level. Sir has attended several national and international seminars, and Sir has presented many papers. Sir is having an interest in the areas of accounting, marketing, strategic management, quantitative techniques. And Sir has given his guidance for PhD, and 3 students have been completed their PhD under his guidance, and 6 more are currently pursuing under his guidance. Thank you, Sir, for spending your valuable time for us, Sir Patrick Sir. Now, I request IQAC coordinator Manoj Kumar Sir to speak few words about NEP.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for giving this opportunity. So first of all, on the behalf of college management, I welcome all the participants, delegates from SkillSlate, and today's keynote speaker, Patrick Sir, to this particular national webinar on NEP. I thank today's keynote speaker, Patrick Sir, to accepting our request as a resource person and guiding us on that NEP. So as you know that from last 1 year, National Education Policy was approved by Union Cabinet of India on 28th July of 2020. After a gap of 34 years, Indian government consolidated feedback from 2.5 village level, 2.5 lakh village level stakeholders to 2 national parliamentary level committees over more than 50 months of consultations and workshops. So this policy has incorporated recommendations like early childhood care and education, foundational literacy and numeracy, universal access to education at all levels, curriculum and pedagogy in schools, testing and assessments, teachers and teacher education, equitable and inclusive education, standard setting and school accreditation. All in all, while the policy is not legally bound to any action, it definitely makes clear the government's vision to usher in some landmark changes to the education sector. So as with any other policy, a lot will depend on transparent and swift implementation. So we will be coming across practically maybe from within 1 or 2 years in implementation of this particular education policy. So thank you very much. Now I request our principal sir, Dr. C. Rajendra Sagar sir, to speak some few words on this particular occasion. Over to our principal sir.
On behalf of management of Nishitha College, as well as the staff members and from me, from principal also, I welcome all the delegates who are participating in this occasion. We are especially speaking about national education policy. The national education policy already from the independence of India, we are following some different types of national education policy. Now, the academicians are interested to develop some different types of national education policy. So I want to give some suggestions, but the way I follow or not, will suggest some suggestion for the National Education Policy members. One, the person who are staying in a particular state must know the state language first. From LKG to they are studying up to degree or PG, they don't know local language. So people are like this. So the state language must be known to everybody anywhere. If they are staying from LKG to degree, they must be provided with this state language. For example, in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, we have got Telugu. They must learn Telugu. They must speak. They must write. They must read like this. Up to 10th class, it must be there. Some parents are complaining about our mother tongue is not Telugu. That's why we don't take Telugu. That's why there is a opposition against this Telugu language. Sir, for example, state language, I mean to say. Second one, from British onwards, we are giving degrees. These degrees are not useful. Now unemployment is grown up like anything. So many students who graduated from academic BSc or BCom or this BTech people are not getting proper skills to get jobs. Any education, any degree person, any degree studying person after coming out from the college, he must get any job. So skills should be there in their academics. So it is so that they will get compulsorily this any kind of job. Not only government are not giving adequate jobs for unemployment. So the unemployment is increased like anything. That's why we must include in the some skills so that whenever they graduate coming out of the college must get some employment or business or something like us. So nobody should be unemployed in our India, in our country. So academicians who are looking after this education policy must impart the skills, including of skills in our education system, especially raw graduates. The persons who are coming with the raw graduates, even the computer science also not getting anything. Because outside we have got BTech students with the computer science, they all are preferring these BTech students with computer science. So all colleges must be equally treated, all students must be equally treated, and the academic degrees should get some skill development. They will important the skill development activities. Sir, welcome to Dr. A. Patrick, sir. Also, if you are a member of national policy, sir, you do include this all these things. What I'm saying, if they are useful, actually, the skills are definitely useful. If any unemployed is coming out, sir, graduate coming out from the college, they must get. I got it. They must say that they must be employed also. During the study also, they must get some part-time job so that the parents will be benefited. The poor parents cannot pay fees. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for guiding us. Now I request today's keynote speaker, Patrick, sir, to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Manoj, sir. I'm audible, I believe, there.
Yes, sir.
And it was nice kind of an intro from ma'am, and nice to associate with SkillSlate. A little while ago, I visited their website because from the beginning, the single point of contact for me has been Manoj, sir. So just today, I got some message from Agrawal, sir, coming my way. I visited their website and was very happy to note one of my colleague with whom I worked in Arbamanch University in Ethiopia also did some programs, Dr. Ravi Kumar there. And thank you very much for that insights that were provided by the principal, Rajendra Prasad sir, and from Manoj Kumar Gelda sir, who has become a friend of mine. I remember around this time last year, we did a program on entrepreneurship in Usmania University there.
Refresher course.
He was a participant in that course. And from then on, I think we had a lot of exchange programs going on between Nishitha College, me, and a lot of other things that had happened. And I've seen Malla Reddy and a lot of other friends of mine and a lot of other colleagues that are there from the other colleges, Kamala ma'am, Uma ma'am, maybe I've seen Mahendra, a lot of names, and I can't take every name that is there. But thanks to all those participants and thanks to the platform that is provided jointly by SkillSlate and by Nishitha College. And we all have to get to one thing that we got to learn as intellectuals how to agree to disagree, right? Agree to disagree. Everybody has got their opinion, right? We got to respect. I mean, how do I see NEP? How do you see NEP? There's a lot of those things. And Manoj sir had gone about with building the platform. Probably he set the tone by telling the highlights, how many discussions were held, what it is all about, and other things. And when he told me that it is to do with impact on higher education, people are seeing at different aspects of it. Some say probably it is, the history was wrong in the past. Some say it is to do with saffronization of education. A lot of things are involved in it. I mean, it looks at the kind of perspective that you look from. I didn't come with that kind of a negative tone, but I believe the world is changing. We have come a very long way. It's high time we start rethinking about the way that we are imparting our education to the students. We are all passionate teachers. And the thing is, we are very much concerned. You would have seen the kind of concern which the principal showed that, everybody who comes out of the colleges must say that they must be employed. They got to get a job or they got to be entrepreneurs. I mean, he also said that when they're studying, they got to do some part-time job. I mean, I did it when I was pursuing my master's as well there. Now, what I would go about for doing in this session is spend a little time and trying to understand the different ways that people understand the word education itself, right? And then get into understanding like how education has changed over a period of time. In India, probably we would have seen the Gurukula system. I mean, I had been umpteen number of times to MDI at Gurgaon. This is there in Haryana. We call it Gurugram today. That is where Guru Dronacharya had gone about with equipping all his disciples in the warfare activities and other things there. And the next was to do with the university system. We did have our Taxasilas and Nalandas and a lot of other universities. Then it had come to the distance education mode. And today we talk about more of this online and blended mode of learning. We have come a very long way. Just like you talk about Rajnikant talking about 2.0 and engineering crossing from a steam engine to 4.0 today, or Facebook had gone about with changing its name from Facebook to Meta, and within a short span of a lot of money, Sometimes I get to feel, what is this figure around 232 odd billion, that could be the GDPs of a few countries added together, is all lost in no span, what Facebook stood for. And all of a sudden, things are tumbling. You had very big ideas of virtual reality, augmented reality, and a lot of other things. Where are we heading for? And I don't know where in the past 2 years we have been. For some days we said we have offline classes. Suddenly we say we have online. Then we say blended mode and a lot of other things are undergoing. But COVID had gone about with redefining a lot of things. Had it not been this pandemic, everything has got its positives. Probably we wouldn't have gone about with talking of digitalization at a very large scale. And that's something what we are doing today. And I always love marketing this particular app that is there, which any student can go about or any faculty can do it. Like I'm talking about the Swayam app, right? Now it talks about the courses which are offered by the UGC or NPTEL or various other organizations that are there. I have registered recently for one, learning about R tool, Python. Very recently, I completed a course on data analytics. And I wish, no matter from which stream you come from, like you can always augment your CV, you can go about with improving on your credentials, taking these courses around. I mean, that's something that we are looking for. Now, I will just start with a note by asking a very rapid fire question. If anybody can unmute and mute back, there's an instruction from the organizers not to mute, or you can put it in the chat. That would be better off. Now, suppose I go about it saying A4. Can I get some answers coming very quickly? Not much wastage of time. You don't have to Google for the answer. Somebody said there is some name. Someone says something else. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting a lot of words. Okay. I think answers are getting poured. We can't speak. Yes, you're being muted so that it doesn't get distracted. A lot of noises come from homes, and we let loose our home secrets public when we come for webinars. That is the reason. Okay, I did have a fair share of words. Many people are intelligent enough to tell me what are all the words which start with the letter A. I think we'll stop it there. I think the chat box also will get suffocated there, right? Let's not do that. So what I go about with getting is to understand that many got my question right. When I said A4, many said it. I've seen one or two guys still typing in what is called as Apple. And 9 out of 10 times you ask anybody like, I'm an A4, they end up saying the word Apple. Because, that is how we have been trained in our kindergarten. When you say A4, I've seen the host of answers which came out in the chat. Everybody has got a different word. Someone said army, someone said accounting, someone said something else, Amsterdam or August or Arjun or whatever names that started off with. We, in the process of getting colonized, under the British rule for a little over 200 years, they always wanted us to be subjugated to their power. They didn't want us to rise in ranks. And they went about with creating what is called as making us to become clerks or occupy subordinate posts and not the higher echelons of the government ladder and other things. It's called the Macaulay's method of education. And it took time for us to go about with getting through the independence, post-independence, different eras where we went about with coming out with the national educational policy. We'll see through this journey and try understanding as to what it is all about and why is it the need of the hour. What are the things which ails our education system, and is the national education policy of 2020 going to be a panacea for all the problems that we say is there with our education system? I'll just come as things unfold. I'll start speaking. If I can do a screen share, and maybe Manoj sir or somebody would confirm if my screen share is visible to you all. Yes, no. Can I see the chat? Can I get, yes, I had some people say yes. Thank you. That should do for me then. Now, this is what is the thing that we're going to discuss for a little time. And we would have some opinion generated from you all. You always have that. I started with the note saying that we are here to agree to disagree, right? We're not here to belittle anyone's ideas there. And to begin with, now where does the word education come from? Now, people have different opinions. One, there are two versions when it comes with some highly educated people and learned ones, saying that the word education is derived itself from a Latin word called educatum, which means the act of teaching or training. That's what most of us are. And to some of the group of educationists, they say it has come from another Latin word. When you say, I don't know about the spelling here, but I have seen it in a different format elsewhere, which said educere. You call it educare here, but it said it is educere, which means to bring up or to raise, to bring up. I've seen another version which says to bring forth. Normal parlance, our education is more about outside in approach. And if I have to go about teaching a subject, I read from the textbooks, the related reference material, I get myself updated, get a sense of clarity to myself, what I'm going to speak, and then let loose those ideas in the classroom. So it was basically an outside in approach. All right. But if you look at the true sense of education, it is not always a dumping into an individual, but it is about bringing out of an individual. All right. I always quote this example of a person, and we talk about some famous apples in the world, could be the Adam's apple, Steve Jobs' apple, and in between you have he's hurt very badly. Probably you would have cursed that apple. Why did it hurt him? And you would have asked people like, why on earth is it happening that way, that things fall to the ground and they don't go up? You would have asked it that way. And people around him would have scoffed at him, laughed at him, ridiculed him. I said, this is, what kind of a question is it? It is nature. No one ever asked that question. Why are you asking that kind of a question? But did he give up? I mean, prior to him, nobody would have spoken the word, what is gravity, what is gravitational force, Newton's laws, and all those things there. Where did that number called 9.8 seconds square emanate from? Where did that word called gravitational force come from? Textbooks didn't speak about it before him. It is something which came from within Newton. So that's true sense. When you're talking about education, it's about bringing up. It is to raise. And this could reflect that I'm talking about a Western kind of a philosophy. We had this greatest sage that India had ever produced is to do with Swami Vivekananda. Now look at him. What did he say? I think I find a lot of similarity between that word, which is having its origin in Latin, to the one which is a kind of a thing which comes out from Swami Vivekananda, where he says education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Manifestation, when you look at it, it is trying to take it to another level, taking it to a higher level. I mean, you're at a base you're trying to take. So education is trying to make you get evolved. That is where it is, trying to bring up or to raise, The word manifestation is more about that kind of a thing that you look at. And the other thing is, there's another definition given by Swamiji where he said, education, I love this, every word is something which hits us as teachers. When it comes to this word character, again, I go back to Swami Vivekananda, where many keep quoting. He says, if there is anything which is under a control in this world, it's to do with thinking. It's your thought which leads to your word. It's your word which leads to action. It's your action which leads to habit, habit which leads to character. And character is something which determines your destination. Today, many people are finding themselves at the crossroads. Many people have issues related with their mindsets. Many people have issues related with character.
Dr. Patrick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
have you changed slides? Because still only the first slide is visible on the screen.
Okay, I think I'll go this way then. There is some issue with that. I think I'm at the third slide. Is that okay there? Is it visible now?
Yes, Swami Vivekananda, according to Swami Vivekananda.
Yeah. So I said about that word character. I think my previous slides were this. If I have to tell it out, I think this is what I was saying. That is, education is the manifestation of perfection already existing in man. I'm with this quote now, which says that education means it's a process by which character is formed. And I love these words which are there with that extra dark fonts that I put in, which says that strength of the mind is increased. People are weak-minded. So we're talking about the strength which is to be increased. The intellect is sharpened. And as a result of which one can stand on his or her own feet. We are not talking about people becoming parasites, depending on somebody else, always leaning on someone. No, you can stand on your own feet. And the result of education is it got to build your character. It has to strengthen your mind. It has to sharpen your intellect, and you got to stand on your own feet. Are we doing it? Whichever domain, whichever field, art, science, engineering, commerce, or whichever field that we come from. And he always believed that development of a nation is not possible without real education. It's not simply possible without real education. Real education. I mean, he has already said what it is. And then I love this particular quote given by Nelson Mandela, where he says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, not for bad, for good. We're talking about bringing countries out of slavery or from ignorance and a lot of other things. And continuing from this great Gandhian or a South African leader who had gone about leading the country out of apartheid and other things there, continuing with the African quote. Now, this is what has been posted at the entrance of the South African University, which says that it sums up the problem that we are facing. It says destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education, allowing students to cheat in the examinations. And the result is that patients die at the hands of doctors, buildings collapse at the hands of engineers, money is lost in the hands of economists and accountants, humanity dies at the hands of religious scholars, justice is lost at the hands of judges, because the collapse of education is the collapse of the nation. What profound, strong words are there in this quote. So root for everything in the society is to do with proper education. And there has been a lot of insights. Hats off to the efforts that were being put by the erstwhile chairman of ISRO, Kasturi Rangan sir and his team, and a lot of other people who had gone about with making this the national education policy of 2020 to see the light of the day. Now, let me just continue again with the word education. It said that it is a gradual process which brings about positive changes in human life and behavior. Now, what is this behavior? I often go about telling it's to do with the word perception. We all have these 5 sense organs. We receive stimuli, we process it in our mind, and we attach meaning to it. Now, when we process in our mind and attach meaning, the meaning is a result of formation of values, beliefs, attitudes, opinions, and feelings in us, which leads to what is called as a behavior. So we all vary because we vary with our value systems, with our beliefs, with our attitudes, with our opinions and feelings. And there's another definition. It says it's a process of acquiring knowledge through study or imparting the knowledge by way of instructions or some other practical procedure. We all talk about that VAK, visual, auditory, kinesthetics. Some are very strong by watching videos, they can do things. Some are very strong with their ears. And some are very strong. They say that give me hands-on practice and that's the only way I can learn. We all vary with our styles of learning. What is education? Now it brings in what is called as something which is not unnatural, but it's a natural and a lasting change in the way we reason and the ability to achieve our targeted goals. It goes about with supporting and enabling and facilitating us to investigate our own considerations, our own thoughts, and it makes us ready to express it in different shapes. That's how few end up as entrepreneurs and few like working under someone, few like to fulfill their dreams and few are in the process of fulfilling others' dreams. Now, education is the main thing that encourages us to distinguish as to what is right and what is wrong. In the absence of education, we can't do what we need or we can't achieve our goals. And this is something which I like putting it straight. It says education is the passage to progress. So without education, we are actually going back. And additionally, it's a way to our fate. Some people look at that. It can only be accomplished when individuals have information, they have aptitude, and they have the right frame of mind. And education resembles a medium through which we can associate various individuals and we offer our thoughts. And here, that's what we're trying to do. Maybe somebody picks up something from here, you probe it further, and you go about with speaking something else. Now, there are 3 different types of education. It's all about gaining experience. And it divides it into 3. We call it the formal, we call it informal. I mean, normally I would say, what is formal opposite to it in my dress habits? I would say formal is informal. But there is another format which we are talking today. It's to do with the non-formal, not just today. It was there for pretty long. And what is this formal education all about? Now, it takes place in the premises of the school, where a person may learn basic academic trade skills. It's from KG to PG kind of a thing. Maybe another level, it could be postgraduate or higher education. That is what is the core of this webinar all about. It's usually at a college or a university, which may grant an academic degree. It is associated with specific or stage by stage. And you talk about semester by semester, backlogs, clearing. You have some rules, CGPA, and all that stuff. Now, the formal education is given by specifically qualified teachers. I mean, they do the right thing. That is how you say it in English. There are 2 words. One is efficiency and other is effectiveness. Efficiency is doing the right things, and effectiveness is doing the right things in the right way. Right? So it observes some strict discipline. The students and the teacher both are aware and what they're doing and how do they get themselves engaged in the process of education. And today in online kind of classes or blended mode, we say that engaging is the biggest challenge. Physical classes, we can see people in flesh and blood. But when it comes to this online engaging, that's something that's very crucial. Now, some of those examples are, it could be learning in a classroom or taking a certificate course or getting university or college degrees. Now, this kind of formal education is very planned. It's for different subjects. It has got a syllabi. It's about attending classes and other things there. The next one is informal. Now, we say home is the first place where we get schooled. Parents go about teaching us a lot of things there. Maybe my girl is growing up and probably she knows how to make a few things around. And probably we help our kids in trying to balance a cycle and they fall many times, and we go about telling that you got to try, you got to persist, kind of a thing there. And there are things which you can get it from the library, from websites and other things there. And in this kind of education, there's some conscious efforts which are not involved. It's neither planned, it's not deliberate, and you can do it anywhere. And unlike formal education, it's not imparted by any institution or school or college, and it is not given according to any fixed timetable. There is no set curriculum, and it consists of experiences. That's something which is very important. I mean, to students, we always tell it, like, when they come for placements, so like, without my first break, I don't get a job. Without a job, I don't get experience, right? Without a job, you don't get experience. Without experience, you don't get a job, to put it that way. It's this perpetual question of whether the egg came out first or the chick came out first, right? But I tell you, if I would look at this very famous photocopier company, which is called as Xerox, they have a kind of a culture. If any worker goes about with committing a mistake at the workplace, they celebrate the mistake, right? They make him the chief guest. At the end of the day, the guy, after the celebration goes on, he has to share with everybody how he or she had done that mistake. And the moderator, like let's say in our case, we have Manoj sir, he will tell everybody, look, this guy had done this mistake today. From tomorrow, if the same mistake is repeated, you'll be penalized. Do new mistake, but don't repeat your old mistakes. So it's about some invaluable thing that comes in, is to do with that word called experience, learning from your mistake or learning from others' mistakes. So this is what we get living in a family or living in a community. Now, how did we go about with learning? Like, how does this COVID spread? People said the touch, the sanitization, the social distance, that this is the only way you could avoid, right? That came by experience. That's something to do with informal. Now, there are examples that are there where we go about, I would have always remember my mom telling me as to, and I used to get confused why February has got 28 days and others have got 30 or 31. That easy to remember, the knuckles that are there. It's a Jan, Feb, March, April kind of a thing there. The depressions will have less, 30, and the ones which are your knuckles will have 31. And these are things that we have learned. Now, coming to that issue of mother tongue, I don't know if somebody can chat and put it to me or something of that kind. I want someone to tell me what are the language in which we dream. And I tell you, I'm a very strong proponent of this. Anyone will tell me what are the language in which we dream? Does dream have a language, first of all? What are the language in which we dream? I just want the chat. I don't get imagination, somebody said. Yes. Any other thing which is the language, thoughts? I get it from Dr. Savita, who says it is mother tongue. That's bullseye. A thought process is in our mother tongue. We dream in our mother tongue. There are a lot of those things when how do you interpret dreams and other stuff there. But a thought process, a basic thinking is in our mother tongue. How many times does it not happen that when, I have seen vivas or when I go out of station and I think people say, can I tell it in my mother tongue? You're so comfortable. You find that's something like taking a fish to water kind of a thing when you would speak in your mother tongue. But when you're asked to speak in an alien language like English, and over the years, what we have noticed is somebody who knows how to speak good English, we said he's a very knowledgeable person. So we judge an IQ and the knowledge levels based on English. Now, if I look at some of the famous footballers like Diego Maradona and all the Spanish-speaking countries from the Latin America, they struggle, they stutter, they stammer to speak in English. Now, there is a college in Madhya Pradesh or somewhere, they wanted to teach or impart medical education. That is, you make an MBBS or a doctor by teaching it in the local language. Somebody said, are we going back? No, I said it is progress. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I had also attempted the medical entrances and other things. I did have my friends going to Philippines. I did have another extreme of my friends who couldn't make to the medical entrance here in Hyderabad or erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, and they've gone to Russia to study. And I have to ask them, like, in what language do they teach there? They said they teach you medicine in Russian language. Russian language? And what will you do after that? Come back to India. And how did you practice? And you have learned your entire medical sciences with the Russian language. And how will you come back? So there is an exam that we'll take, which is given by the Medical Council of India, which will give us equivalence, and we would go about with working in India. Now, the Russians don't budge. If English is so important, why is that the Russians don't go about doing it? And you know, they're so much conscious about their identity and other things there. You know, the learning process makes it, you know, did we struggle as kids to learn our mother tongue? How did we learn it? It came by hearing. Nobody taught me letters, words, grammar, nothing. You know, I was imitating my parents probably. Some laughed when I would stammer or mispronounce some words, or I couldn't put it in the right context or something there. And I learned it, trial and error. But the thing is, even before knowing how to write, I could speak my mother tongue. So it's learning something which comes in the mother tongue. And if you look at the emphasis that is going on, this is what was the concern of our principal sir when he said that you got to learn your mother tongue. And what if you're born in Telangana or any other state there, if you don't know the native language? I'm strong proponent. You know, your mind goes about with freewheeling. You can think very easily. Very many people, I find that it's very difficult to find the right choice of words to articulate. You want to convey something, but you get stuck because you don't find the right choice of words. Not everybody is gifted with that articulation. It comes with a lot of hard work. And this kind of learning is very spontaneous. I mean, let's say that I didn't know how to go about with filling a form to take a DD. I end up writing something for the other. Somebody showed me, you got to write this year, and that is how we go about with becoming what is called as, writing a DD. I mean, there are so many application forms that I need to fill right from my school till today. And somebody has helped me out. Today, I went to go about withdraw and deposit, and I knew how to fill the appropriate form. It's because of the informal education. I don't know where to put the check and the counterfoil. You know, a lady practically showed me. I still remember working for Bhadraga. This is check has to come first. The pin has to come. The counterfoil has to be. I mean, this is something somebody had demonstrated. Now, what is this non-formal education? It includes what is called as the adult basic education. I mean, it's about school equivalency preparation. And non-formal, someone who's not at school can learn literacy, other basic skills of job. It's about home education. It's about individualized instruction, program learning. It can be the distance learning mode, or it can be some of the courses that we are doing. And I'm talking about people learning what is called as Project Management Institute gives you courses. I mean, it is computer assisted instruction, and it is imparted consciously, deliberately, and it is systematically implemented. It should be organized. I mean, most of the MOOC courses, massive open online courses, it's non-formal education, which should be programmed. And it necessitates what's called as flexibility in the design of curriculum and scheme and evaluation. Now, why is it important? Now, where does a country stand in terms of happiness index, in terms of hunger index, and a lot of other things? So basically, people believe across the world, and it's a firm faith, that education will help eradicate poverty and hunger. It goes about giving people the chance to lead a better life. I mean, reasonable enough standard of living. I mean, you want to go about with people coming out of slums, people coming out not knowing what their rights are as the citizens, decent enough living, access to medical care, a lot of other things are there. And nations go about it working. Parents strive to go about it sending, you know, I've seen people doing all kinds of struggles to ensure that kids get good education. They don't want to undergo the kind of suffering that they are undergoing currently. Now we're trying to figure out this, the difference between education 1 to 4.0. Now, number of internet users has increased world over. In 2005, it was 1 billion. 2011, it became 2.21 billion. And 2016, it was 3.5 billion. And the numbers keep growing. Now, what was this education 1.0? It was authoritarian. Teacher knows everything. The guru knows everything. It is sage on the stage kind of a thing there. The student is a passive recipient. You can't question the teacher. It was a teacher-centric system. The teacher gives knowledge as the absolute leader in the classroom. Probably went well. It would have been Socrates or Plato or Aristotle or some of our own gurus that are there over the years. Now, technology was forbidden in this kind of a classroom. The second kind that was there was communication and collaboration. And it was exam-based. The result in the examination, it based only on cramming and memorization of knowledge. And it underestimated the student-centric approach. it talked about, but didn't apply at any time. And some people think that they stopped talking about teaching and they were only talking about learning and learning outcome, but still it remains on paper. So, I mean, till today, people call, what is that? Timetable, workload, right? Hours of teaching. But they should have actually talked about hours of learning rather than hours of teaching. Now, Education 3.0 was more student-centered approach. The teacher is considered to be a transformer, a coordinator, a facilitator, an advisor, a learner, someone who is a guide by the side rather than sage on the stage. The student is constantly researching. There's a flipped classroom wherein you go about with telling that the best of lectures are available on YouTube. Listen to it, come back. Let's discuss, let's apply. Let's not go about with depending more on rote learning and memorization. I mean, look at this. When I speak and you listen, somebody said we were all muted, right? That is some of the controls some of the organizers have. We are not able to speak. Probably let loose at the end. Now, it's more of a monologue, what I'm involved with. I'm speaking and you're listening. Now, it's more of a dialogue wherein I speak, I listen, you speak and you listen kind of a thing. And technology is everywhere and student is self-learning everywhere. And the classical stylist classroom no longer exists now. We are trying to switch, getting more into the online. Now, lesson plans are now being called as learning plans. That's a thing that you have. And Education 4.0 is all about co-creation. It is about innovation, which is at the center. Now look at Philip saying innovation in you. So whenever and wherever flipped classrooms are applied, there is an interactive, practical exercise that is happening face to face. I mean, maybe it will get to another level where we talk about augmented reality and virtual reality in the years to come by. Now, learning is done at home or outside the school. While in school, you develop skills. Now, development of personalized teaching and learning. There are learning plans. Now, look at it. 3.0, you call it learning plan. Now, learning plan is becoming what is called as creativity plan. Going to another level now. Now, technology is free. And there are places where you say Wi-Fi is free kind of a thing. Nothing comes free in the world, but we are talking about the umpteen number of utilities you can derive by using that. I mean, students can take it anyway. They can spend 24/7 looking at pornography, or they can go about doing MOOC courses and learn a lot of things there. Now, there is easy accessibility and increased use of virtual reality. There is continuous evolution. Technology is getting itself doubled every 3 months, we say. And there is a need for what is called as continuous training, continuous improvement. That is what is the Japanese concept. You can't get complacent. I mean, you need to adapt to the changes that are happening. You talk about Kaizen and other things there. There's development of knowledge and skills by all there. Now, very quick kind of a change if we can make it. Here it says that when you look at Education 1, teaching is done through lecture based. But in 4.0, it is about discussion based. The result in 1.0 was there was passive learning attitude. The student, I mean, there was very low engagement between the teacher and the student. But 4.0, it is about active learning attitude and more of high engagement. The teaching approach in 1.0 is one size fits all. You don't differentiate between slow learner, fast learner, about their perception, their aptitudes, their attitudes, and all that stuff. And it's more about personalized education that became in 4.2. Now, result here is in 1.0 kind of a thing, there's low interest towards learning. It was not effective. You're not doing the right things in the right way, but there is interest and you're doing the right things in the right way. Now, the primary role of a teacher is lecture, but here you look at the highest form a teacher can take is mentor. And the other level you're talking about is coach. I wish some of you all spend a little time in learning about what is this coaching all about. In coaching, your role is not to give your personal experiences, not to give answers to questions. It is about asking pertinent questions to the student and make them to find answers and solutions within themselves. That is the role of a coach. Now, result is you have support students only academically. But if you look at 4.0, it's not just academic. That is what has been the hinge of or fulcrum of this new education policy. You're using this word repeatedly, what is called as holistic growth. And teacher training was through degrees, credentials, certificates. You have a BA and MA, fine. But here, it's not that way. You would have got that. I know some of these courses which are developed online, they say they come with an expiry date, which means after some time the certificate does not have any hold. Now, that is something where it will tell you that you got to learn continuously. It's lifelong learning that you have. And here it is outdated, obsolete learning material. Sometimes people continue. When they were a student, what notes that they've used 20 years back, without any updation, they keep using it. That doesn't work. You've got to be updated in the fast changing world. And learning activities are based on textbooks and tests. Here it is project-based learning. And the result here is unpractical learning outcome. But here you talk about 21st century skills. We try checking what it is. And the learning locations was being traditional classrooms, but here it is about large learning spaces. The result has been limited learning activities, but there was diverse learning. And you don't stick on to only one. You talk about multiple areas that could be developed, multiple intelligences and other things. And you look for industry, how it would view a graduate who would come from that 1.0. I mean, they would work for doing things which are monotonous, where they don't have to apply their brain, don't have to apply their intellect. But if you look at 4.0, you're trying to create people who are co-creators, people who are entrepreneurs. The jobs are getting exhausted. So you'll have to go about with creating more people who would be job providers rather than job seekers. Another thing is the result is these guys who are being trained with that kind of pedagogy and other things there, they're not suitable for today's industry. But the ones who come with 4.0 would be suitable. Employability is based on degree qualified. The focus is on getting that degree. But here you're trying to prepare people for any kind of uncertain multiple careers. Love the way it is done in Japan, wherein there is no politicization of retirement age. A person becomes perfect in something. This is what we call it in HR, where we talk about job rotation, job enlargement, job enrichment. So people go about with developing multiple skills. And for some matter in future, if one of the areas that I'm working in is taken over by technology, I mean, I don't become unemployed. I have umpteen number of skills to bank upon. So that is where you talk about creating that multiple career kind of a thing there. And the result is these things are not suitable. I mean, those kind of traits which hold for education 1 are not suitable for the changing world. And 4.0 is something which is equipping people with variety of skills. Skills are certain things which we are not born with. I mean, talent is another thing. When you got to listen to what Harsha Bhogle says, you can watch out that YouTube video. He said it's the most useless word, talent. There are many people who are talented, but unless you work on the talent, you can't do anything. So, skill is something which is imparted, right? It is equipping you for that kind of a thing. Now, this is the landscape that we have in India. The number of universities, probably it would have undergone change in terms of deemed universities or deemed to be universities or private universities, or we do find the presence of a few foreign universities coming. I don't say these figures are ultimate. So we had universities that are there, and we have standalone institutions to a tune of 45,000, schools to a tune of 14 lakhs. Students, look at those numbers, 33 crores. Now, we had this transition. The first person to enunciate the national education policy, it happened in 1968 under Madam Indira Gandhi. Then it was her son, pilot turned prime minister for this country. And it happened with the new educational policy, which was 1986. And it is under the guidance of Sri Narendra Modi ji, we talk about the new educational policy of 2020. Now, how did we go through all these things if you look at? Now, 1968, Madam Gandhi had gone about with announcing it based on recommendations of an educational policy. And there was a study for 2 long years, and there was a lot of discussions and ruminations, which ended up with 1968, it made public. Then again in 86, the focus was on adult education, and it was more about empowerment of minorities. And then we don't talk much about the small minor amendments, but 92, there was a big amendment that was brought in actually by the P.V. Narasimha Rao government, where he had introduced what is called as common entrance examination for most of the professional and technical programs. In fact, from where am I talking about now? It is from the PG admission office. And recently we have completed 4 phases of admission. The response is very poor. And there are a lot of girls who are coming up towards higher education. Wonderful things, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao kind of things that are probably reaping its fruits, but not sure about my boys, whether they're complicit with the gig economy. I was sharing with Kamala ma'am also the other day, which was to do with the guys picking up Swiggy, Zomato, and other kind of things and neglecting higher education kind of a thing there. And 2005, if you look at, it was Manmohan Singh who went about with bringing up what is called as the Common Minimum Program. And 2016, it was the Modi government, while addressing gender discrimination, creation of educational tribunals, and common curriculum for science, mathematics, and English started off. And in 2017, a new educational plan with major changes scheduled to be launched by the Narendra Modi government. And we are in 2022 now. And 2020, the draft bill was accepted. And now I think, it's a nice way. There would have been many NEP programs, but now it's in vogue and in practice now. And that is where we see it in 2022 now. Now, what is this new era of education system? And it started off, when you look at it, it was 3 decades since the education policy was introduced in 86 and got updated in 92. And this is what our good friend Manoj sir had said, that it was on 29th of July that the NEP 2020, which paved the way for some of the sweeping changes in the Indian education system. And it goes about with marking the first education policy of the 21st century. And it replaces what is called the 34-year national policy, which was in vogue for a very long time. And this NEP is a fallout of a draft. I was talking about this famous chairperson of ISRO, Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. It was a committee which was headed by him, which went about with bringing these changes that are there. Now let's look some of the things which students have been faced over the years. When they go to the industry, they said, you got to start again your learning. The curriculum is outdated, obsolete, old-fashioned. It doesn't work anymore. The students ask, why am I learning this? And what did I do in the college? What is the point of getting that professional degree if my job is not aligned with my career interest? Now, there are some courses which are being forced on them. Then people ask, why do I have to study a compulsory subject which I don't want, or I'm not keen or interested in it? Why is the syllabus so vast? And why are all the major educational opportunities based on only a single exam? Sometimes I get goosebumps. 100 questions, thousands of students taking the entrance. The system runs an algorithm and goes about with allocating a rank. And there are certain ways how we break the tie. It is based on your date of birth. If you're elder, probably you get a better rank. If you get a tie based on your percentage of your qualifying exam, that gives you, with the same mark in the entrance, there could be hundreds of ranks varying, thousands of ranks varying. And that's the way it is. How do you go about with screening, eliminating, or filtering students as to who would get a better opportunity? And our education system right now has been too much of exam-centric, based on cramming of facts. And so often a criteria of promoting a student solely decided on mark score. But there are many instances, I had people coming and telling me I had a backlog. Why did you have it? It was because I had COVID. And I couldn't take that exam there. And I missed out on getting into a PG course or something like that. It's all about on that day, I'm indisposed, I'm not having good health for that day, and I go haywire with my performance. And students who used to do well in exams and get good marks were considered to be smart. And students who couldn't mug, batti, rote learning, and reproduce, and they were considered to be average. They were good in application, but they were considered to be average. Now, basically, marks had been the epitome of success, and that is what we continue. And there has been a huge gap, and that was something which the NEP is trying to address. And whether it's a parent or a student, I'm sure that these questions will come to all of us. Earlier, there were no solutions, but the latest policy, it has got its things that are there. It will take time. It's with what amount of commitment will people implement is what will matter a lot. There could be a progressive shift, which will happen in the right direction with this policy. Now, why is it needed then? It was believed that there was lack of accessibility to higher educational institutes, and it was one of the reasons, low college, university enrollment, and the gross enrollment ratio that was there was around 26.3%, lower than the developed countries. Some of the countries talk about 99.6, 99, Singapore, France, Japan, and other countries. We're still lagging behind. And the core part of this webinar is more about higher education. So the higher education is rife with high segmentation, specialization rights. It prevents students from having what is called as comprehensive understanding of different concepts. And students are doing engineering. And they have no idea about what is liberal arts, the boundaries for specialization. I would have screened many people there. The guy has taken an MA economics entrance, and we put a condition saying that BCom students are not eligible for that. But the same thing, if you look at into our distance education, say it's okay. Psychology is such a wonderful thing there. Then we put up, unless and until you had psychology in your UG, you can't go about doing it in PG. Right? I sometimes feel like, I've been teaching over the years so much of OB and consumer behavior and all that. What if I would have done a course in psychology? How better would have been my approach to teaching? But there were some boundaries that were being put. I think the new NEP that is there, the education policy that is there, national education policy, is more about interdisciplinary. And then we look at the career management and advancement of faculty. It was just based on seniority. You were there for 12 years, then the next 3 years as associate, then as professor kind of. This led to insensitization. And universities and colleges are undertaking a very little research. There was less scope for conducting research. And there are institutes of excellence and other things coming up now. And one of the critical reasons for little research was bifurcation of higher education into two types. One is for teaching and other is for research. So there has been very little funding and other things. And what does this NEP offer us? We want to take this thing, what stood at 26.3, the gross enrollment ratio in 2008, another span of 15 years, or probably lesser than that now in 2022, to 50%. And the emphasis is on making curriculum flexible, interdisciplinary, creating multiple exit points. To talk about this multiple exit points, I have done my MCOM from Osmania University, but for some reasons I pursued an MBA from IGNOU. Now you're talking about this multiple exit points today, but let me tell you, I cleared my MBA probably in 2005. Yeah, no, 2003 probably. Now what I recollect is, it's been long. When I enrolled, it was a 3-year course. It was to do with 6 semesters, including a project work. And I finished my semester exam. I get a certificate coming home. It says diploma in finance. My God. Another few months, it said PG diploma in financial management. Then came another thing which said PG diploma in management. Once I finished my project work and my final semester, I got a degree, master's in business administration. It was called MBA. I like that approach because, what if I enroll and quit after 1 year? I can still have that certificate which says diploma in management or diploma in financial management. They're different semesters. And, in the university system, I worked in the exam branch for a little over 2 years. Students discontinue for some reason. They come back and they want to clear off. And we always give them what is called as last chance, or we tell them double the duration. If your degree is for 3 years, with another 3 years, you got to complete. If not, you got to take readmission and start right from scratch. And we are talking about a lot of those issues which are being tackled in this national educational policy that is there, where he said there can be a single discipline university which will be established. And we are talking about multidisciplinary kind of a thing there. And there has been a paradigm shift that's going to happen. For a pretty long time, we are used to these acronyms like UGC, AICTE, and other things there. Now, these all will be replaced. There are going to be 4 independent verticals, what they are. Now, NEP would go about with granting. Now, this is another thing. A lot of these colleges are there. Osmania University has got a little over 400 affiliated colleges. Now, those affiliations will be done away with the next 15 years. And there is huge onus which is laid on digitalization of higher education. And what you see is the Higher Education Commission, India's Higher Education Commission. Earlier, someone even christened it at HERA or something, I remember earlier. But it's going to be this. This has got 4 verticals. One is NHERC, NAC, we know the word NAC, but here it is HEGC and GEC. Very quickly on what they are. Now, the National Higher Education Regulatory Council is going to be a single point regulator for all higher education sector, including teacher education, except the MCI and the legal. It eliminates the duplication and things which are not common between the regulatory effect. You have NAC, you have NBA, so many other regulatory bodies that are there. They all would culminate into a single one. And the other one is this National Accreditation Council that you have there. Now, this would work as a meta. You heard this word, Facebook becoming meta. There's going to be a very gigantic kind of a thing there, where the accreditation of institutions will be based on primarily on basic norms, on your public self-disclosure, good governance, outcomes. It will be carried out by an independent ecosystem, supervised and overseen. So there will not be that kind of thing. I had been part of various inspection committees. It's all about, they try to pretend the kind of standards they maintain. And next year you go, again, whatever comments or negative things that you read, it still continues to happen there. And sometimes I question, what is this IQAC, or why do we have this academics branch, and why do we go about with doing those inspections when it is ridiculously times where we find that the same thing keeps happening repeatedly again and again. Now you look at it, the emphasis on public self-disclosure, good governance, and independent thing. So I don't know where the universities would go in. So it's going to be a robust system of graded accreditation that's going to come in. Then the third vertical is about Higher Education Grants Council, which will carry out funding, financing, and other things that are there. So it's disbursement of scholarships and other things which will happen. And the fourth vertical is about General Education Council. So it will frame what is called as learning outcomes. It will tell you about, attribute is something which you can't measure or express in terms of numbers. What you can measure and express in terms of numbers is called as a variable. What you can tell presence or absence is an attribute. And it is going to have what is called as a National Higher Educational Qualification Framework, which will be formulated by GEC. And this will work in sync with National Skills Qualification Framework. And it is all about preparing people for the 21st century skills. What are these 21st century skills? There are foundational literacy, there are competencies, and character qualities that you're trying to develop in students. Across the globe, we are trying to tell, these are the things that you should have. People got to be literate, basic numbers, scientific literacy, information communication, and technology, financial literacy. We have a lot of places we talk about workplace incivility. People don't know how to conduct themselves. So you got to try to teach them etiquettes, manners, and all that. Now, this is something, when you talk about competencies, we said these are 4 C's. I'll get to it. And then you got to ask, somebody said, asked a person like Rudyard Kipling, where did you get all this knowledge in the world? He said, I have 6 wise men who have taught me all the knowledge. And someone said, who are the 6 wise men? He said, it's to do with the 6 W's. And the Japanese have rechristened it as 5 W's and 2 H's. And to them, the most important W has been to do with the word called why. So curiosity. You're trying to promote initiative and not give up. Try reading Angela Duckworth when she says about what is persistent and grit. How do you go about adapting? And we are missing out on leadership. We have a wrong notion of leadership there. And how do you create your own cultural and social awareness? You don't be forgetting that legacy that is there. Now, when it comes to this 4 C's, it's about communication. And look at it. You're very comfortable communicating in your mother tongue, sharing your thoughts, ideas, and other things. We're all good with our IQ, but we go wrong when it comes to our EQ. That is your emotional quotient. How do you work in teams? How do you collaborate? And probably I'm spending a lot of time these days. There are a lot of types of thinking, but this has been the core of NEP, to develop people not to mug and reproduce, but to go about with thinking critically. And you talk about creativity. It's not just the job of engineers, every domain. And let me tell you, critical thinking is said to be domain general. If possible, read Paul Young and Linda Elder, wonderful book on what is critical thinking. I, in fact, use it at my course material at National Institute of Fashion Technology. Now, let's look at some of the important ones which are there. So that's something. There's going to be a single regulator body, multiple entry and exit points in various courses. This is a new thing. A lot of debates are happening. We heard about blood banks. We heard about freezing of eggs. We talk about banks storing money, a lot of other things that are there. And probably there is DMAT, wherein you dematerialize your stocks or various other financial instruments that are there. But here, if you look at, we are talking about academic banks for your credits. You can store your credits. We talk about digi-lockers and other things, digital lockers. Now, tech-based options for adult learning, it will come through apps. MOOC is already on its way there. We talk about TV channels, which will be equipped for that. That's another big revolution that's going to happen there. And e-courses will be available in regional languages. So that will remove that kind of an inhibition and limitations that people have in the process of learning. And you're going to get a lot of foreign universities which are going to come up. I mean, people already got into that xenophobia kind of a thing. I mean, that will expose, it's going to be the Darwinian thing where you say it's going to be the survival of the fittest. There should be a healthy competition, right? That's something which is going to happen. And this is something which I appreciate. I still remember as a student going with my cousin to their relative's house and writing the MBA entrance for Andhra University. Went to my uncle's place to write in Anantapur. Maybe took that OU exam in other districts as well. But when I work for an office wherein for 3 cycles, I've done what is called as CP-GET, we call it, Common Postgraduate Entrance Test. Now, I think for the first time, they're going to have, for central universities, there's one body who's going to take up the entire thing. Now, CBSE has been doing net exam results starting there are various boards that you have. But when it talks about higher education institutes, I think duplication, expenses, a lot of things can be done away with when you're going to have the National Testing Agency, which will take up. Not sure what would be my role in future. NTA will come up. Maybe I'll have to implement or conduct exams on their behalf, or what it's going to be in future. All in all, if you look at it, it's about by 2030, I mean, you're looking at a bigger level, 50, it sounds by 35 and something beyond. And, the way, the pattern, and I think probably I'll tell it here, where say the academic existing things is we talk about science, commerce, arts, but in the new thing, there is no hard and fast rules in separation of streams. They can choose. Probably we experimented for some time with the CBCS, choice-based credit system, but commitment and implementation didn't go well there. The pedagogical structure was 10th class, +2 was inter, then degree, and if somebody wants master's. But now it's going to be 5 + 3 + 3 + 4. Board exams are based on memorizing facts, and you take it once a year. CBSE for school and +2 had gone for twice now with the pandemic. And it's based on core competencies. The students are allowed to take the exam twice a year. That is what has already been shipped with CBSE. The award of the degree 3 or 4 years, but you can have multiple exit and entry points. So after 1 year also, you can get a diploma or degree or whatever. Vocational education didn't have much of importance in the existing educational system, but it's given vast importance, and it's going beyond the 6th standard in school level itself. The mark sheet were based on what you got in the exam, but here there is going to be what is called as 360 degrees appraisal. The entrance test was multiple entrance tests, but here there's going to be a single entrance test now. Now I'm looking at some more things, which before I would call it off, looking at the time for question and answer and other things there. I revere a lot. This person was given consumer behavior model, Howard Sheth, we call it Sheth model, Professor Jagdish Sheth. He started off with a lot of marketing associations and all. Now he had gone, I'm looking at an Indian working in America, what kind of a perspective or an opinion or an attitude that he has towards the National Educational Policy of 2020. He said, this was a conclave that was held at IIM Ranchi. And he said that this would pave way towards less regulation, more autonomy for institutions through effective self-regulatory framework. Now, this is what has been a bane in India for a very long time, over-regulation. And Indian institutes, unlike the Western institute, are practicing what is called as self-regulation, and gradual autonomy and accreditations will be granted to all. I mean, you could have a lot more universities coming up, and it is only the fittest which will survive. Students will pick and choose a college there. If they know that this college was going to give me or impart me the right kind of skills, will make me employable or make me an entrepreneur, I join that. If this college is going to give me only a paper degree, I'm not going to be a part of it. And the other one that you have is foreign universities will be allowed. It will promote research and it will bring programs with mobility. There will be exchange programs and other things. And he says that it is idea of internationalization of higher education is based on mobility. I said about exchange programs. We experimented with an MCOM IS for a long time. You have students studying part year, part going up to UK and coming back. And people laughed and scoffed, but we did experiment with it, right? And it aims at setting up multidisciplinary institutions offering high quality teaching, research, community engagement. That's something which is very missing. I mean, you look at people doing their medicine from Armed Forces Medical College, AFMC. I did have some of my friends who studied there. and they pay some lump sum amount and they don't want to do the internship. And they know that is the cheapest way to complete medicine and come practice outside there. That is all. I'll come to the hand raised, Manjula ma'am, a little while later. And I'm talking about stuff like, you're going to get access to wide range of streams like arts, humanities, science, sports, and vocational subjects, which is lacking earlier. It's not going to be purely academic. It's going to be much more than that. And it focuses on both online and e-learning. The future is going to be that. We talk about new economy, which is based on a modem, click and modem. We say older one is called as brick and mortar. So it'll play an extensive role. The future is going to be all that. And if you look at during the pandemic, the government has already taken that in future, probably 30-40% would be online and 60% would be offline. We are into that kind of a transition now. So it is what is going to be complementary role that will be played. Virtual world. We are into creating colleges and physical infrastructure, but already we are into cloud-based learning. So it's more about creating infrastructure in the virtual rather than the physical part. That's going to be more of things in future then. And it is not just about degree, it focuses on life skills. That's something which was missing earlier. On occasional courses. So it's going to be more student-centric kind of a thing there. It will give more importance to affordability, accessibility, love these words of access, equity, inclusion through open schooling, online, distance mode, a lot of those things which will find focus in future. I won't get into this. Some of the drawbacks, one of them is immediate drawback. If you look at, I said about medicine being taught in MP that way, but how do you get teachers to teach the technical subjects in the mother tongue now? I mean, what if Telangana government takes a stance that the engineering courses or the commerce or arts, they will all be taught in the mother tongue. Now, you'll have to go about with finding out some kind of a immediate thing to find study material mother tongue could be one particular thing. And they're going to be another kind of a thing where they say about 4-year degree. You don't have to do an MPhil and there won't be a master's. Straight you can get into a PhD. And someone who's not interested in academics, 3 years he can drop out, get into the industry. So there could be that kind of a disturbing thing for a little while. And this is a little hard to get by. You said the government schools would get into the regional language teaching, but the private would get into English. So probably that could create a kind of a disparity because already we are into that kind of a mode where we say like someone who speaks in English is more knowledgeable. So maybe that kind of a thing is to be addressed. But I really love this conclave which had happened there. And the speakers went about saying that the pillars on which NEP is based on, the pillars of access, we always talk about this 4 lions of the Ashoka thing, which we tackle as the national emblem and other things. Here you have certain things like you have access, equity, quality, affordability, accountability. And people believe that this is going to transform India into a vibrant knowledge hub. And I love this quote again of Professor Jagdish Sheth. He concluded saying that the national education policy of 2020 offers choice, offers chance and change. But I believe he's a bit skeptical when he says the later part of it, where he says, but we have to wait for things to unfold and see how it gets implemented. So the crux lies in how do you implement? You look for shortcuts, procedural lacunae. If you have not well thought out how to implement it, or we all know what had happened with the GST. The government which was there at the center, whichever government was there from the national party there, they said we will implement. But the opposition, for the sake of opposition, they said that no, we are not going to be a part of. And in fact, they were the ones who have started it. It shouldn't be that it is the present government which is bringing. So in some other states, there are going to be some other governments there. They said, no, we are not going to implement it. So there should be a proper coordination that must be there between the state government, the central government, and the beneficiaries, the stakeholders, and everybody's views must be taken into consideration. So the crux lies in implementation. So with that note, I would end it. Thank you so much to the opportunity provided by SkillSlate and by all the organizers from Nishitha College. And I stop it at this point and leave it to the organizers. If I could take any questions, I would do it there. I think I'm on time there.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Maybe probably exceeded a little more or encroached into the Q&A time, but still, I think the number of participants had come down with that enthusiastic 200 odd who were there in the beginning.
So thank you very
Any
much, sir.
questions?
No, yes. So I request any participants, if you're having any type of questions or queries, you can ask. Sir, one question is there.
I'll go through.
Question, right? Guys,
Can
if
you
want-
elaborate 360-degree performance evaluation?
Yeah, there are ways. I mean, when I would look at in management, we talk about 360 degrees appraisal. We talk about what is called as a balanced scorecard. See, we always have an emphasis on financial outcome and profitability. We say it has got 4 perspectives, wherein we say, circle has got 360 degrees. Every part of the quadrant is more about 90 degrees. You add it together, become 360. Now you have what is called as, at a very basic level, you talk about learning and development. Then you talk about internal processes. Then you talk about what is called as customer perspective. Then you say it's to do with the financial perspective. I have done training programs for BSNL and various other organizations where, very specific to an organization, you can translate it. Harvard Business School goes about saying if there has been any big innovation in the field of management, it has been balanced scorecard. And people had their own metrics of developing it. Let us say that I worked in Ethiopia for 2 years. Now, on the day of my exam, they asked me strictly not to come to the exam hall. In the local language, they circulate what is called the feedback forms. The feedback forms of the students are taken, and on a point scale 5, they go about with grading me. There are feedback forms sent to my colleagues, feedback forms sent to my head, and all the scores are collated and sent to the dean of my department. And the dean would go about with telling me whether to pack my belongings and get back to India, or do I continue stay work there if my score go below 3.5 on a scale of 5. So I've witnessed what is called as 360 degrees appraisal. So if you can develop, these days, the kind of report cards that I see in the schools, today it's amazing. What are the things that, when my kid was in the nursery, has she got sharing habit? What about her leadership qualities? You're talking about a nursery level about leadership qualities. You're grooming people from that level. So I don't see there is any hindrance about 360 degrees appraisal. I think that would go about it coming. Only thing is, we'll have to go about, we're doing a lot of benchmarking and learning from the countries. Singapore has got its own standard. Japan has got its own standard. In Japan, till the age of 5, they go about it ingraining more about culture, discipline, hard work, about civility and civil behavior. They don't get into subjects straight away. So we'll have to go about with waiting for that.
So one more question is that explain about LMS, maybe learning management system.
Yeah, I mean, every college has got their own platforms and other things there. And there are a lot of these digital platforms which have come up in the recent past. Probably here we are doing it on a Zoom. I still remember the struggles I had with Manoj sir earlier on another platform where it took time for me to decipher and join in. So there would be things coming up. There are things developing. And if something has thrived during the pandemic, it has been more of edtech companies that are there. So you have a lot of potential in that, and customizing it and making it user friendly, making it more relevant. So there's a lot of this potential that you have in that area. And maybe people like this SkillSlate and all with that consulting and trying to bridge the gap, that is what is one of their motto between what people want and what actually is there, would go for a big change. I'll just get into the chat. I find a lot of questions coming in. NEP, wouldn't it affect the performance of students? I think if you continue with the old system, it is surely going to affect, make them not fit for the future jobs and all, or taking up challenges of future. I think it is going to be a very positive one is what I believe. Here I have Shivaramam. I don't know, I couldn't get that. It sounds abusive. Teachers, will they change their perception? They are ready to change their methodology. Yeah, they have to. I mean, it's talked about lifelong learning. It's about you perform or you perish. I mean, the true commitment, are you into this field with passion? I mean, did you come into teaching by choice? Are you by default? Now, that will make the difference there. Teacher will continue to gain respect. Teacher will continue to exist. There is no threat for the teaching thing because of technology and other things there. I still remember a time when PowerPoint presentations and other things were there. People said, will it replace the teachers? It didn't. Power is in the person making the point, not in the PowerPoint, right? So the thing that will continue to exist. Only thing is, how do we continue is what matters. We are evolving. That's the thing. Education should become a joyful process. Yes, let's move in that direction. Thank you very much. NEP to some extent is going to help, but centralized approach, I think it wouldn't be that bad. You can't work out everything. Rural population, I tell you, I have taught at National Institute of Rural Development, Panchayati Raj for 17 batches. And God's grace, I think I have little over 1,500 people who are all called social entrepreneurs. So I have little insights into that rural population. I think keeping all this into view, I think there are a lot of changes which have been brought up. Can you throw some light on adaptive learning? I think it's about the crux, acclimatization, adaptation, and other things. When you look at it, a switch over, let's say transition. I mean, before the pandemic, I didn't know what was Zoom or what is Google Meet and other things there. And I did make mistakes. There are times that from home, people said my voice was not audible. I took my two-wheeler, ran to the, our UGC HRDC, which we call it a staff college. From there, I put on the mic and started off with a 20 minutes gap. I mean, there were glitches. We all learned up. Then I pulled out a YouTube video and I said, why was my voice not audible? So I said, I had to go about checking on these things, they're refresh. And next time I didn't repeat that mistake. It's about learning from mistakes then. So I'm adapting, I'm evolving. That's the thing. 2 years back, what was I with my online class knowledge? Now I think I'm a little better off, little less ignorant. I don't count myself as an expert, but I still say I'm a little less ignorant. I would have been more ignorant 2 years back. That is how it is. So it's about adaptation. Nice questions.
So one question is how
okay,
about...
NEP is introduced. The qualification of the teacher should be, yes. And earlier it was all certificate based, but I think the certificates will get expiry date now. So you'll have to be on a constant learning. So be prepared for that is what I tell you. So 20 years ago, you got a NET, you got a BAD or an MED certificate. Another 40 years, you want to be in teaching profession, that will not happen. It's continuous learning, lifelong learning. Be prepared for that is what I'll tell you. I have a question about next level of education 5.0. Can we expect next generation? I think I'm not put my focus still, but I think I can't imagine anything beyond virtual learning. I mean, whatever that things of, what Meta or other companies are trying to provide there. How about employment with hybrid way of learning? I think the universities start recognizing, sitting in Hyderabad, I got a certificate from IIT Kharagpur on data analytics. So if it is put on the database, anybody can cross-check my marks, my certificate, and all that stuff there. So acceptance will come. There was a time they said distance education is not accepted.
I'm really sorry to interrupt. Someone has saying something. I don't understand that language. Is it abusive? Should I remove that person?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, because that language I don't understand. That's why I asked. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I think it's some local language which sounds a little abusive. Let's forget about it. I've read it. It will change the fate of poor family students. Yes, I think I'll go with that. Thank you for that appreciation from Adisha Reddy. And abusive stuff. I don't know why people come in. Okay, it's about hybrid way of learning and degrees. That's go ahead, sir.
So like when there was an industrial revolution, like we have studied a lot in all our books, right? So this is kind of an education revolution in India, correct? NEP 2020 and plus the pandemic, right? So after the industrial revolution, the rich got richer while the poor got poorer. So what do you think will happen from this education revolution plus the pandemic? Will the educated will keep on getting more educated while the poor who don't have much access, they will keep on?
No, what I believe is, when you're coming out with TV channels and trying to develop on the infrastructure of Wi-Fi, internet connectivity, a lot of efforts have been put on that. Who would have believed a few years ago, Idea phone came out with an ad wherein it's shown, the principal is Abhishek Bachchan in that.
Yeah.
The rustic rural parent comes and says, I want a seat for my kid. And they said, no, you can't get a seat for this kid. The seats are over. You can't accommodate the kid. And he gets an idea. Why don't you install a phone through which the kids are learning? And it's all emotional kind of a thing, wherein the kid who studies with that remote method of learning ends up being a topper and being felicitated at the graduation day and whatever. But how quick did it turn out to be a reality when it was during the pandemic? Right? And there were issues. Parents were forced to buy laptops and the mobile phones and smartphones and other things there. 5G and other things were pushed with the greater speed, 4G or whatever. But the thing is, I think there would be glitches, but that vicious circle, what you said, of rich getting richer, poor getting poorer, did happen. But I think education is the greatest weapon. And that would offset whatever are the negatives and the demerits that are. Be optimistic about it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone have any question? Please let us know if you guys have any question. If you would like to talk.
This Ravi Kumar is my friend from Arbaminch there.
Sorry,
right,
sir?
I see his comment at the end there. And a friend with whom I worked in Ethiopia, Ravi Kumar, he's here. He said, how about employment with the hybrid way of learning and degree? I will tell you one experience that I had while joining Usmani University. We did have a kind of a thing wherein we said about earn while you learn kind of a thing. GenPact, which was to do with GE. We had a weekend learning wherein the students will come on a Friday and Saturday and attend classes. Rest of the week, they would be working for this call center or BPO or whatever name that you call it by. And these people are all outshine. And I was initiated into technology, Facebook and all this by these students. And let me tell you, they're doing wonderfully well across the globe. And I think the degree that they got, which I reckon in the past, was an initiative which was based on an industry university kind of an MOU that was there. It was a blended form. It was not a regular thing. I mean, it was, you had to set aside some rules wherein you say that these students will not attend classes for 4 days in a week there. What about their attendance? A lot of other things would be taken care of. But I think it was a fabulous course on BCom computers and it went off in a blended way. And these guys ended up getting degrees abroad. Some of them are there, New Zealand, European Union, US, Canada, a lot of other places. Ravi Anna, I think they're doing all wonderfully well with those hybrid way of learning. And that's what is the future all about, I believe. And he does a wonderful job, I think, my good friend Ravi. He's there in Gujarat, I believe. Now.
So now there are no more questions. It seems all the questions are over.
Ravi sir wants to be unmuted. If you can allow him, I can say hi to him.
Yes, yes. Ravi sir, please unmute.
Yeah, hi Patrick, how are you?
Fine, Anna, wonderful. Nice to see you this way.
Excellent presentation, and thanks for the answer you give to my question. Thank
Anna,
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, so how are you, children? And how is everything going on?
God's grace, Anna. Thank you so much.
Fine. Really excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the kind words.
Bye.
Ameya,
It's
sir,
been a very long time. We worked together in Ethiopia.
Ameya,
Sir, I think we are
can you
towards the end of the
unmute
session.
Dr. Savita madam wants to say something. Just can you unmute?
Yes, Savita, right?
Yeah, Dr. Savita, K. Savita.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, I am from Bangalore. I hope you recognize me.
Yeah, ma'am.
Here, sir, here, as per NEP, we have already started the course.
Yeah.
And all the commerce students are required to take some other subject, one particular subject from a different stream. So commerce students are today studying C programming, then some of them are studying psychology, then in BA, so many subjects like sociology, criminology, all these subjects these people are studying. I really have a doubt whether we can have grip on the subject when we go through this blended mode. And because it is still in the initial stages, like going through computer courses and all that may help the students. But over a period of time, maybe at the end of the 4th year, I have a doubt whether we will really have complete knowledge about these additional courses which we are forcing the students to take.
We're not forcing them, ma'am. No, we're not forcing. What we are doing is we are offering them a buffet.
Yeah. But at that age, do you really think that these people are in a position to take up a particular course? Again, the curriculum is what we are deciding. So I'm really a bit confused. I just want clarification regarding this.
Ma'am, the thing is, it puts a lot of onus on us when we orient them, tell the ifs and buts, the future of that courses that they take. I mean, what do they get? They're all young minds that are there. I mean, they just take it, not aware of what will happen in the future and other things. And if you can really go about with giving the right kind of an orientation, being a commerce student, you've done a PhD and all that stuff from OU there, you are such an experienced person, what would lead them where and other things. So if you can give those kind of insights to them, they can make better choices. And these days, people are so much into what is called as trying to get that kind of self-awareness, know more about, they're cross-checking the details across various platforms, then they're committing. So I believe that, it would be too naive to say that they don't know, what would happen after 4 years and other things. Ultimately, that is where I said about coaching. Now you got to go about as a role as a coach. You could be a teacher, a facilitator, a supporter, a guide, a supervisor, a mentor. But I'm talking about a role as a coach. As a coach, your role is to ask pertinent questions. You don't use your experience and say, I did this, you do that kind of a thing. So tomorrow, if the student, you say you find answers within you, tomorrow, if anything goes wrong, the student is to blame himself, not you. So the thing is, you got to learn that part of what is called as asking pertinent questions then. Am I right, ma'am? Did you get it then? Hello? I think I lost connect with ma'am. Okay.
Right. So, Ameya sir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm there. Can you please repeat? Actually, I missed it. Please, can you repeat?
Yeah, just you change your screen, sir. It's coming somewhat different.
I think this is a virtual.
Virtual.
Sir, let me take a photo. Just a minute. Any other team members are joining? I made it intentional.
Yeah, I request to Jansi madam and all the staff members from Nishitha. Just on your videos.
Please on your videos for a minute so we can have a photograph as a memory.
All the staff members.
If any participants
on your videos, please.
If any participants would like to be a part of this photograph, please turn on your videos as well.
All the participants are requested to on your videos so that they can take a photograph. Kaushik sir is also there. How are you, Kaushik sir?
Oh, Kaushik sir is from Calcutta, Xavier's Institute.
Yes, sir.
I could see a lot of people.
Please smile. Right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Now I request all the participants just mute yourself. Now I request Jyoti madam to present vote of thanks, and after this we'll be having a national anthem. Yeah, over to Jyoti madam.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I am Jyoti, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, Nishitha Degree College. I take this opportunity to thank our Chairman Vinay Kumar sir, Academic Coordinator Raju sir, Director Dr. O.M. Sheikh sir, Principal Rajendra Sagar sir, Vice Principal K. Raghuveer sir, IQAC Coordinator Manoj Kumar Gelda sir. I express my deep sense of regards to teaching and non-teaching staff, students, and all the participants who actively participated in the session and made it a resounding success. I would like to thank Dr. A. Patrick sir by giving valuable information on NEP 2020. Sir, the points you have explained on education, formal education and informal education are really wonderful, sir. Sir, yes, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use. The collapse of education is the collapse of nation. Education is a gradual process which brings positive changes in human life and behavior. Wonderful session, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, I thank everyone being this afternoon. I thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Before we begin the national anthem, I would like to make a few announcements for the participants. The recording of this program will be sent on WhatsApp. I hope you all have joined the WhatsApp group, because the recording of this program will be sent on WhatsApp. There is a separate registration certificate for this program. You all need to make the registration only once. There is a small process. Register again if you have already registered. The feedback links will also be shared in the WhatsApp in the chat box. All the important links have been sent on the chat box of the Zoom and on the WhatsApp. Please do check that. And if any queries, you can reach out to us. If you have any doubts, you can message me personally on my WhatsApp from the group, or if you want to connect with Nishitha College, you can message Manoj sir as well. Thank you so much again. I thank all the members from Nishitha College, Dr. Patrick for this wonderful session, and all the participants for being present and attending this program. I thank you everyone on behalf of SkillSlate. If anyone would like to organize such kind of programs and make a way and contribute, right? Because I feel Nishitha College, when Nishitha College organized this program, the one of the main motive of Manoj sir was not organizing a program for organizing a program. The motive was to make the concept of NEP reach more people, right? So this is kind of a service where we are trying to reach out to more people and volunteer our time and efforts, so that our education, our skills and opportunities which are accessible to all can reach more people, and a different set of the people who don't usually have access to this kind of knowledge. Today also, if you can see, people from various cities, not only cities, but also various small villages have also joined us. So this is the kind of impact we're trying to do. And I really thank Nishitha Degree College, Manoj Kumar sir, Principal sir, and Patrick sir for being a part of this program and taking this forward, because this is a kind of service we believe in. And I believe that no education, even if it is done professionally, it is always a kind of service, because someone always learns from it and it helps to build their lives. So thank you everyone. If you have any questions, you can ask in the group. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nishitha Degree College. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now I request all the delegates from SkillSlate and Patrick sir, and even all the participants to stand at their places for the national anthem.